Okay, welcome to Debatable Delaney. I mean, that's debatable. Now that's debatable. Welcome back, Caroline.
I just can't get enough of that intro. It is amazing.
It's pretty electric. I'm not going to lie. It feels like I'm about to play in a football game, which is exactly the vibe I was going for.
100%. It's like the Super Bowl.
Ready to debate. This debate is the Super Bowl.
Put your gloves on, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to
Your
debate.
Your gloves might be on. My gloves are coming off, baby.
Sassy to begin with. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so today we're going to be debating if ghosting is good or bad. And this is the perfect Halloween episode.
Spooky season.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy ghosting season. Excited to enlighten you all on how wonderful ghosting truly is.
She's so wrong.
And I hope that you're all celebrating.
We'll get into it, but don't ghost.
So, Caroline, do you want to start with your opening statement?
Yes. First, Delaney, thank you so much for having me. I love Halloween. So usually I'm a festive person, but not when it comes to ghosting. I think ghosting is very toxic, and I am very excited to share my points today. But high level, I think ghosting is very immature. It's very selfish, and all it does is just show very poor communication skills.
Okay, I think that's valid. My opening statement is that ghosting is preferable to an actual breakup because it gives you the space to reflect on how you actually feel about a person without the influence of rejection.
Okay, you tell yourself that.
I would rather be ghosted because then I can sit myself down and be like, do I actually even like this person? Versus if they rejected me, I would probably like them more because I love the chase.
That's a fair point. So I'm going to go straight into point one, if that's cool with the hostess.
I would love that.
So I think my biggest issue with being ghosted is I've noticed when I go on dates, the guys that ghost the most are the ones that talk a big game. They're like, I can't wait to go to this movie with you. I can't wait to do this with you. Like, they're on the date actively talking about next steps.
That's true.
And then you never hear from them.
Wait, I actually just started to notice that as well.
Exactly right. They're like talking a huge game, all these next steps, things they envision with you. And then all of a sudden, poof, you never hear from them.
I started to notice that in New York, funnily enough, where like I would go out on dates with guys and they would be like, just like you said, talking about like very specific things they wanted to do with me, and then like crickets, which is crazy. I don't understand that philosophy. It didn't make me want them more. I was just like, okay, that's strange.
It's weird, right?
Yeah. So my like suggestion for that is I do think that the worst part of ghosting is like hoping that one day they'll text back. So I think to make it more effective for both parties, ghosting should just be sending a ghost emoji. And that way the person knows I'm never going to text you again. And I don't need to say anything else. And both parties can just move on.
Yeah, because I do understand, like, it's like your birthday, it's your Christmas. You're like, oh, is the guy going to text me?
Totally.
Like, get a life.
I had a guy like softly ghost me, and then he texted
What's a
me
soft
like,
ghost?
it's when they like text you once every couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
And then he like it was while I was in New York that I was seeing him, and then he like soft ghosted me, and then like 2 weeks later he was like, "Are we still gonna date?" And I was like, I'm not even in your state anymore.
I am dead. So the answer is no. But yeah, that's my biggest issue. I think with ghosting, it's always the guys that talk the big game. They talk about all these next steps and then you don't hear from them. So it just seems very misleading and you're like, I'm really confused.
Yeah, that is an interesting phenomenon that I've been noticing a lot more. In my experience ghosting and being ghosted, it hasn't been that so much. It's been more of like trying to do a natural fizzle, which I really
love a natural
respect.
fizz.
We love a natural fizzle, especially in the marina The marina in San Francisco feels
where
like
we
a
live.
small town. And you see everyone everywhere you go. And so I really respect a ghost in the marina, because then when I see them in person for the first time, I can be like, yeah, we mutually dumped each other. Versus if they broke up with me, I would have to be like, oh yeah, that's the guy that went on 2 dates with me and then thought that I wasn't good enough.
So I think we need to rewind, Delaney. Can you inform the audience, like, what's the definition of a ghost? Like, my definition of a ghost, I don't think after a first date, if you don't respond, it's not a ghost. I think it's like 5 dates in, that's ghosting.
I think 5 dates
or 3
is a crazy
2.
ghost. I think after 2 dates, usually it would warrant a response of being like, if someone's like, oh, I want to hang out, being like, I'm actually not interested. So anytime it would warrant a response and you don't respond, that's a ghosting.
Okay.
So I would say after 2 dates, if you reach out to someone and they just never text you again, that's a ghosting.
I know, because I've had friends that have gone on a first date and they were like, it didn't go well, but he never responded to me. He like ghosted me. I don't think that's much of a ghost after a first date.
Especially if it's a mutual, like we
I
both
agree.
didn't have a good time. A ghosting implies that one person wanted to hang out again and the other person didn't.
Okay, I'm glad we cleared the air. I just wanted to make sure our definitions were the same.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up as well. So I'll say one of my points.
Yes, let's hear it.
When someone ghosts you, it's really an invitation for you to rewrite the story.
It's a positive way of looking at it. Okay.
You have free reign to decide what really happened. Maybe they died. Maybe they're gravely injured. Maybe they got married and were caught. Maybe they were married all along and their wife found out about you and they couldn't text you back. You have free reign to create a story that'll make you feel great. And that's an amazing privilege that they're giving you. You don't have to take any of the blame.
Yeah, but I think it wastes a lot of time of like picturing like what's going on, what's happening with Mr. Who Knows. Like, I think it's just a lot of wasted time.
Well, we should stop wasting time. That's another one of my points is like, we need to treat dating more like catcalling.
Okay, that is a hot take, Delaney. What?
So when we're being catcalled, I feel like most women are like, I don't have time for this. No, I'm not going to listen to this stuff. Versus when we're like texting guys and we're dating them, we're like, oh, I hope that he thinks this is funny. I hope he texts me back.
What is that Minnie Mouse voice?
If he doesn't text me back, I'm going to be so sad. Like, no, like if they don't text you back, whatever. Moving on. Next guy. I don't have time for this stuff.
But I think the reality is a lot of girls waste time being like, what is he doing? And then the girl's poor friends are making these fake scenarios. Like maybe his phone is dead or maybe he's on a trip and he's busy. I'm so over making these fake excuses for my friends.
But that's why I'm like, let's rewrite the story. Why does it have to be like us all crowding around someone's phone? Like, oh, he didn't text you back because I'm sure he's traveling. Sick. Like it should be like, okay, well, he's not texting you back. I don't know what's happening. So let's move on. And then if he just decides to text you back, we can recalibrate.
So that's not much of a story though. If your whole thing's like, let's rewrite the story, you're just saying, let's move on.
Well, the story happens if there's an actual ghosting and you're like, it's been a month. He didn't respond. It's like, well, I guess he died. That's so sad for him. He's
actually a ghost. Okay, I see what you're saying. But you have to admit, like, I think this is actually a good convo. Being a friend to someone that is getting ghosted is so bad.
I agree.
Oh my God, I've run out of stories.
Well, I think you should stop giving them stories. This is exactly what they taught us, and he's just not that into you.
Great movie.
Great movie. And they started with that girl on the playground, and that guy's mean to her, and it's like, oh, he has a crush on you. Like, let's stop feeding people bullshit. We're all grown women. We can say like, oh, he hasn't texted you? He's probably not that into you. And if he texts you again, you can weigh your options. But I don't think you're like number one on his list right now, or else he would have texted you.
Totally agree. I just think a lot of women don't have the confidence to say that to a friend. So I
know.
wish the guy would just do it. Do it for us. Just say, I'm not interested in you.
But the reason the guy doesn't do it is that he's not dumping the girl. He's just keeping her as an option.
True. So you think that's what's happening?
For sure.
Just all on the roster.
For sure. Women and men. I'm sure men do this too. Like, we all just need to buck up. If someone's not texting you, they probably don't like you very much. You might still be an option, but let's stop creating excuses.
Read between the lines.
Yeah, read between the lines. Caroline, do you have another point to present to the class?
But yes, what the classroom, what you guys need to hear is kind of contradicting what Delaney just said. So as Delaney had mentioned, you know, we live in the Marina. It's a very small town. And I think that's when ghosting is just so toxic. For me, if I'm in a small town, I don't want to have a bad reputation as, you know, that's the guy that Caroline dated and we never, she ghosted him. I think when you ghost someone, it makes you look very weak. It makes you look very narcissistic and selfish. And you wouldn't want that reputation in a small town. I think it's a lot more admirable, you know, if Delaney was dating some guy and he sent her a text saying, you know, I'm not very interested in you. I would have a lot of respect for that guy, especially I would know him in the Marina. I'd be like, oh my gosh, very much more inclined to introduce him to new girls versus if this guy ghosted you. He has such a bad reputation in his town. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I will say that I grew up with the phrase that you should not say anything if you don't have anything good to say at all. And so I think it would be hypocritical for me to say that we should be breaking up with people.
But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to, you know, facilitate it's not even a breakup. What is it called?
There is no word.
A split? Because you're not dating the person. It's not a breakup. What's the word for it?
It's really just a rejection, which makes it sound so much worse.
Oh, God.
That is what it is.
Slippery slope. I think it's a lot more admirable to at least just text, you know, it was a great run, but you're not the gal.
It's like the same copy and paste text that happens for everyone. It's the
same. Oh my God.
It's you're amazing. I wouldn't change anything about you.
It's nothing to do about you.
It's like the place I'm at in my life right now. I just don't think we're on the same page. And I think the world of you. But
I think I've gotten that text before.
Or it's just I don't know if I feel great about you romantically. It's
or the long term, yeah. You're okay.
That's honestly a bullet to the chest.
But I think if a guy had said that to you, I'm a lot more inclined to be to another friend, oh my gosh, ex who used to see Delaney, he's a great guy.
Oh my God, you're betraying me?
I guess that's the message. But you know what I mean?
I do. But Caroline, I want to just ask you, this is a scenario.
Okay.
You go on 4 dates with this guy.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's 4 dates. You go to drinks 4 times and you're not even sure if it's great. And you're texting him do you want to go on another date for your 5th date? And he's not interested. Would you rather him text you being I've had, in this situation, you're not even sure about it either. Would you rather him be oh, Caroline, I have had so much fun getting to know you. And after our exploration of each other,
Exploration of each other? Okay, I dumped immediately. That is so creepy.
I'm not sure if we're compatible on a romantic level. I think the world of you, and I wish you the best.
Okay, it doesn't have to be that poetic. You can just be hey, I had a great time hanging out with you. Just wanted to be completely transparent. I don't really see us. How do you ghost someone? You say wait.
No, break up. This isn't a ghosting.
You're right. Okay, this is no, I think it's a split. I think a breakup is you're in a relationship.
This is a rejection.
There has to be some a rejection is the in-between is which seems a little harsh. I think it would be respectful to be hey, Caroline, I've really enjoyed hanging out with you. I just don't think I'm at a point in my life to really have anything serious. So I don't think we should continue hanging out.
Even if that's a lie?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if they send you that text and then a week later they're dating someone seriously? Would you be offended?
That's happened before.
I know, that happens to me too. I would rather be ghosted.
I wouldn't rather be ghosted because, again, I wouldn't want to make these like fake scenarios in my head and waste all this time.
Okay, so what if you can't decide how the rejection goes? Mm-hmm. So would you rather be ghosted, or would you rather someone say, I'm sorry, I don't like you. Best of luck.
I feel like no one ever gets that text, like, sorry, I don't like you. It's always, it's not the right time.
I would rather get.
I kind of would rather be like, you're ugly and I'm just not attracted to you.
Then I could move on. People are always feeding me this bullshit of like, it's the wrong time for me.
We're in the different spaces in our life.
Yeah. Or just like, I'm so sorry. I'm not in the right space for this. And it's like, okay, that's like breadcrumbing. Then I'm like, maybe one day I'll be in the right space for them. I would rather them just be like, I'm sorry, I don't like you. And then I can be like, great, move on. They're not that important to me. Like, I can move on if they just tell me they don't like me.
So, Delaney, I have a scenario for you.
Yeah.
So, you've been dating a guy. You're on, like, your 5th date. You come home, and you guys are texting on a regular basis before this. Uh-huh. And then all of a sudden, you just, like, don't hear from him.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I mean, I think I would definitely, if we were texting frequently before, I would be, like, really confused. Mm-hmm. And I would probably be like worried for his life. And so then like after a couple days, I would probably try calling him. And then if he didn't pick up and then he never texted me back, I would like get the hint. I'll hit you with one of my other points.
Let's hear it.
I think that ghosting is a graceful way to reject someone without causing any trauma.
Please elaborate on that, especially the trauma piece. For the people in the back.
If someone breaks up with you outright and is honest, it can cause severe damage to your self-esteem. If someone ghosts you, you can kind of create your own narrative of what happened. They may have met someone new. They may have just found a different path for themselves that doesn't revolve around you, versus if they break up with you, it's like, this was about you. I'm fine, but there was something about you that I did not like.
Oh my God. Gosh, it's such a harsh world out there. I mean, so have a few. God. Delaney's single out there. Who wants to date her? I'm just joking. So I just am a little just thrown off. So I just don't think that ghosting is the most graceful way of approaching a rejection. I think you should just be upfront and honest so that the poor person isn't staying up all night being like, when are they going to text me back?
Okay, yeah. I've got to stop you right there because I agree with what you're trying to say, but people don't want the honest feedback of rejection. And I get what you're trying to say. Like, people want the fake narrative of like, oh, you're amazing. It's not you. I'm just not in that place right now. But that's not honest. If people were honest, they would be saying like, I had fun with you on the date, kind of on a friend level, but I'm not attracted to you. Or I had fun, but like, I don't see any future with you. And people do not want to hear that honest feedback.
I've never gotten that honest feedback. I actually don't know how I would handle that.
Yeah. I'm sure I would not handle it well.
Have you ever, the only like non-ghosting that I've gotten like rejection wise is, I'm just not in the right headspace. Have you gotten anything beyond that?
No, I've never gotten
That's
anything.
Such a good point. I've never thought about that.
And that's what it always is. Like, even when I talk to my guy friends, a lot of the times they're like, yeah, it was fun, but like, I'm not sure I'm attracted to her. And like, I'm sure they just ghost or say like, I'm just not in a place right now. And that's not honest. So my argument is like, you can hate ghosting. That's fine. But you cannot be arguing for an honest conversation, because that's also not happening. It's either a bullshit, like cookie cutter breakup or a ghost. There's no honest on the table.
Delaney, I actually think you're onto something there, because I've always been like, no, they should text something. But even when they text something, it's not even true.
That's where I think this ghost emoji idea is the best idea, because it's...
So wait, can we reiterate the ghost emoji idea?
Yes.
I think you give the viewers a taste, but we don't really understand fully.
Okay, so the ghost emoji idea is when you're not interested in someone, send them a ghost emoji, and that way they'll know you're never going to text them back, but you don't have to give a reason. So you don't have to be dishonest, and you don't have to say it's not you, it's me. You can just send the ghost emoji. They'll see you're not interested, so they don't have to keep worrying about if you're going to text them back, and it's just done for. And it also prevents breadcrumbing, which I think is horrible.
What is breadcrumbing?
Breadcrumbing is when someone like stops texting you and then will text you out of the blue, like 3
oh
weeks
my
later.
gosh, I was gonna ask you this. I feel like the guys that ghost you always come up just out of the blue, being like, "What are you doing tonight?" or "What are you up to?"
Totally. And that's because they're keeping you as an option. So if you were to just send the ghost emoji, you would have no opportunity to come back, because then the girl would be like, hell no, I'm not going out with this person. He wasn't interested in me.
So when do you send the ghost emoji?
I think you should have to send it like...
After the first date?
No.
Okay.
Like if I went on a date with someone, I think after the first date, you don't have to do anything. You can just not respond. After the second date, if I had a great time and I texted my date and was like, hey, like, let's make plans for our next date, then they could hit me with the ghost.
Okay. It's such a weird game that we're playing these days.
It is.
It's very strategic.
But it's crazy to me that like honesty is not even on the table.
I agree. You're right. I didn't even think about that, because I'm like, it's either ghosting or being honest, but it's not even really being honest.
Yeah.
It's like a cookie cutter.
And people are so scared of hurting people that they create... I'll just speak for myself. When I'm breaking up with someone, like I create these like elaborate lies to make them look amazing and to make me look horrible, which is just so unnecessary.
In case you didn't know, our friend Delaney over here is a heartbreaker.
I am not.
You actually are, Delaney, though.
I'm not.
Last year, Fleet Week, if you know, you know. So this leads me to another point, which actually kind of refutes your other one earlier, Delaney, is that I really think that ghosting causes major psychological impact on people. I think it causes people to question who they are. If you don't hear back from someone you've been on dates with, you're like, what's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. Like, you're up all night asking your girlfriends, you're just whatnot. You're just really questioning who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So I think that people owe the other person some decency to at least give some kind of excuse to kind of cut the cord.
But why, as a society, can't we just be like, they're not texting me back, they don't like me? Why do we need them to say something? Like, I get that we're constantly worrying, like, oh, I hope they text me back. But wouldn't life just be better if we're like, I have other options. If they text me back, then that's great. And if they don't, then that's fine as well. And like, I get that there's some people that we really like that we're hoping text us back, but it's not worth having all of this anxiety time over. Like, there's millions of people in the world, and if they don't text you back, like, they're probably not that great. There's something really old-fashioned about ghosting, because in the old days, we didn't have access to texting. So it was really just like, you either went to that person's house to see them again or you didn't. And it was the same anxiety of like, I wonder if they're going to come see me, but there was no technology. So we're kind of just reverting back to that. Like, I'm sure in the old days, people didn't come to your house to be like, I'm
Knock
sorry,
on your door.
I'm never going to see you again.
It's a good call. But Delaney, why do we want to go back in time?
Because I think that we can all agree that life was so much better and simpler when there was no technology.
I'm so curious, back in the day when there was technology, though, like, how did you even meet on a date? Where you like, come to this bar and be there at this time?
Yes.
And then you just show up.
if someone didn't show up to a date, you just assumed they died.
So then how would you ghost back in the day? You just wouldn't call?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder if there was any like formal rejection is what we're calling it.
Definitely. I mean, if you went on probably 4 dates back in the old days, you would probably have to break up with someone.
Got it. Okay, well, that's a fair point. I do think, one, like, why do we want to go back into the olden days? We've progressed so much. And two, I think that's just like an unrealistic, like, comparison. We live in a day where there's like Snapchat maps. You can see where people are at all times. Like, there's just so much more visibility that ghosting is a very much more of a dramatic statement when like there's social media, like everyone has their eyes on you at all times. So ghosting is a lot more elaborate.
But what I'm saying is, wouldn't ghosting be more refreshing if it was like every time you go on a date, like there's a chance you're going to be ghosted, and that's better than getting the same cookie cutter notes app apology of like, it's not you, it's me. Like I honestly think I would rather have the honest feedback of like, I'm not attracted to you, because then I can be like, okay, I'm not going to go after someone that
room
hot
for improvement
again.
I'll work on it.
I don't want to hear the like, I'm not in this place, because then it's like I can't even get over that person because they're not really rejecting me. Mm-hmm. And I'm back to square one. Like, that's the worst option in my eyes.
I wonder when the term ghosting became a thing.
It was pretty recent.
Because you're right. Like back in like the 80s when they didn't have these like cell phones and stuff, like how there wasn't a ghosting thing.
I think it was just less obvious. Like you would just stop seeing that person versus now we have texting at our fingertips. It's more obvious if someone's not texting you, then they don't like you.
Yeah. Okay. I do think that's a good point, Delaney. Again, like the cookie cutter response, I think I would still prefer that over nothing, but I don't know.
I will say, I think another point that I have is like ghosting makes it easier to date, because I think,
let's hear that. That's a good point. How so? Let's hear that.
That rejecting someone is a really like traumatizing task, and that makes it hard for people to date. So knowing that you can just ghost mutually makes it easier for someone to like put themselves out there with multiple people, versus there are a lot of people out there that are just so scared of rejecting someone else that they will date someone and be in a relationship with them until that person breaks up with them. So ghosting, I think, makes it easier to just like date a bunch of people, and like people will understand if they drop off of my texting radar.
That's a great point, but I just don't know. So a lot of my friends who've been ghosted, they then go psychologically insane. They send a bunch of texts being like, hey, is everything okay? Like, blah, blah, blah.
What if Apple invents this automatic text where if someone texts someone 4 times without a response, an automatic text will show up.
So sad that we're at this point.
Will show up and be like, I just want to do some self-reflection. This person might not want to be texting you, and you should stop texting them. Because I agree with you that like, I for sure have gone through the psychological warfare of like, why aren't they texting me? But I know why they're not texting me. They're not texting me because they don't like me. So I just need to figure that out and not text them again. Because if they wanted to text me, they would. And if they did have some crazy accident where they weren't able to text me.
Which is like 0 out of 10.
Which is like, like 1 out of a million. Then they'll text me once they're back. So people just need to realize like, maybe I get that some people are bad at texting. If I text someone on a Tuesday, do you want to go to the movies on Saturday? No response. Then I do feel like I have the right to text them on Thursday, being like, just checking in. And if they don't respond to that text, they're not interested in me, and they don't need to tell me that.
I think a lot of people just can't get the message as like clearly as you can, though.
But like, why?
Because I think people hold on to hope this person can really work out and they're just like in that lovey-dovey stage. And so that's when I think ghosting is very key because it helps those people just like cut the chain. They're done.
You mean rejection is key?
So I think a lot of people, they want to feel love and maybe they're not as like, you know, like confident as you, like, oh, it's fine, like whatever. I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, I really match with this person. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Know?
But don't you
It's
think
really
that
sad.
this like cookie cutter, it's not you, it's me, is making it worse for them? Because then they're like, oh, they actually liked me. And it's just not the right time.
And they don't change anything. You're right.
And that, like, I honestly
not that they should. I mean,
I think that's worse for the person getting dumped, because if someone rejects me in that soft rejection of like, it's just not the right time, then I'm like, oh, maybe in a different time that person would like me. And then like in a year, that person will text me back asking to go out and I'll be like, yeah, because now it's the right time for them. Versus like that person has been so horrible to me.
They always come back.
So ghosting is better, because if someone ghosts me and then a year later is like, want to go to dinner? I'm going to be like, hell no.
Right.
Versus if someone's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Delaney. It's not you. It's not the right time for me. Then I'm going to feel like they like me and it's just not the right time. And then when they come back in my life, I'm going to welcome them with open arms.
But Delaney, like, I think if I were to be ghosting you, I would feel so uncomfortable being like, I just wasn't into your blonde hair and I didn't like your jokes.
Well, it would be really uncomfortable, to be honest. You're right, but that would probably be better for me.
So you think that would solve the situation?
Being more honest?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being in an honest breakup. It would be really hard for me to break up with someone, honestly. I've never done that, to be honest. Have you ever broken up with someone honestly?
Yes.
You've said, like, I'm breaking up with you and this is why, and you give an honest answer?
I think I said, oh no. It was very much, I'm breaking up with you because I just don't see us in the long term.
I wonder if anyone's ever broken up with anyone honestly.
Like, what would you say? I'm breaking up with you because I think you're very dirty. I
get the ick bad. So for me, it'd be like, every time you like come near me, I just feel extreme disgust.
Every time you cook eggs in the morning, it makes me so disturbed.
I will say that ghosting has become so much easier since COVID. Because now you can go on a date with someone in September, and then you can like pretty much like have good excuses to not go on another date until December, just using like COVID exposures, real COVID, monkeypox.
Should I use that for tomorrow?
You should. Okay, so you agree that ghosting is great? Is that where we landed?
Where did you hear that, Delaney? So my take ultimately for doing our closing statements is I think it is admirable and just respectful overall to the community and to the person. If you just send a simple text, you know, I don't really see things with you, but it was a great ride. And I think you just leave it at that. I think it leaves a lot of room for just people to just move on with their life. It prevents people from making these fake stories. Oh, he's going to text you back. No, I think just something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be like brutal honest as Delaney was giving earlier. It can just be a simple, you know, I just wasn't feeling it with you. It was like, I really enjoyed our past couple of dates, but like, I wish you the best. And just don't respond to that person ever again. I think that is a respectful thing to do. You know, I would like to think we're in a world where you can just, you know, give a ghost emoji, but I think people are more sensitive than that, and they need a little explanation behind, you know, all the madness.
Okay, and I think that people are definitely sensitive, but like, pardon my French, bullshit notes apology versus a ghost emoji isn't going to do very much. If you get a response that's like, oh, I really enjoyed our time, but I'm not in the right place, like, that's not what they really feel. So I would rather just get an honest opinion so that I can move on, or get a ghost emoji so that I can move on, because I do not have time to be breadcrumbed. And if someone gives a nice apology, then they have the chance to come back into my life later, which I do not want. So I would rather an honest feedback moment or a ghosting in order to move on with my life versus a fake apology / rejection. And I think that ghosting is good because it puts the power back into my hands. I can create the story that I wanted to create for how it ended. I can see that person again without any awkwardness. And I can just move on with my life without any trauma.
No awkwardness.
No.
So you've gone on 5 dates with this guy. You see him at a bar. No awkwardness. You just never heard from him again.
I would just be like, oh my God. Like, you've dropped off the face of the planet. What happened?
That's a good icebreaker over there. Take notes.
Yeah. So, happy Halloween. I think our closing verdict here with our real opinions is like dates 1 through 3. Feel free to ghost.
Fair game.
Some people might be attached by that point, but that's the risk you run. Dates 3 to 6, send an honest text of like.
It doesn't have to be that
honest. It
honest.
doesn't have to be a roast, but do not say like it's just me.
It's not the timing.
Just like I didn't feel a connection with you. Make it clear that you're not interested in them. And then if you're dating boyfriend, girlfriend, then please do a real breakup.
You heard it from here, folks.
So thank you so much. Thank you, Caroline, for joining me again.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. I hope you're all going out wearing your sluttiest outfits.
I think I'm going to be a ghost for Halloween.
I'm definitely ghosting some people this Halloween.
Spicy.
See you guys next week. I mean, that's debatable. No, that's debatable.